Hello everyone, so today we're gonna be learning about square roots. So yeah, here you can see the square root of -1 is I. So what is a square root? Well, you can see here this is a square root, and then the outer part is a quadratic root, and then the a, which is the thing inside the quadratic root, is called a root. And so what is a square root? Well, one is when the answer multiplied by itself will equal to the root number. So an example is the square root of 4. So here, if this is 4, then the answer is going to be 2, because 2 times 2 equals to 4, and 4 is the square number, or the root number. And then 2 is if the square root is multiplied by itself, it will equal to the root. So for example here, the square root of a times the square root of a is going to equal to the root, which is a. And for it to be a square root, the number must be bigger than 0 or equal to 0. And the reason is because there is no number multiplied by itself equals to a negative number. So there are not two numbers that multiply together and equal to a negative number. So the negative square root, we call it an I, which is an imaginary number. So yeah. And then now let's do some practice questions, and I'll give you a few seconds to think. And you can pause the video if you want more time to think. Okay, now let's look at the answers. So this one is no, because it might be a negative number. So if a is -1, then it's not a square root. And it's also yes if a is a positive number. So here, negative a, most people would say no because they see a negative, but it could be yes, because if a is a negative number and two negative number turn into a positive, so it might be yes or no. And the square root of 5 is just yes, because it's a square root. And a plus 1, and we see that a is smaller than -1, and because -1 and 1 makes 0, so because a is smaller, it turns out to be a negative. So the answer is no. And then we're going to be looking at square roots to the powers. So we know that a square root multiplied by itself will equal to the root. So here we see this. Multiplied by itself, it will equal to the root, which is x. So the answer is x. So an example is the square root of 5 times the square root of 5, which is the square root, which is the root, which is 5. So we write 5 here. And then if it's the inner number that's raised to the power of 2, it's going to be the root, but we have to use this. And the reason is because if we see here -4 to the power of 2, would it be equal to -4? It would be 4. So yeah. And then we see that the answer is just x. And yeah, so example is 1 minus 5 to the power of 2, which is -4 to the power of 2. And that's just because it's to the power of 2 and you square root it. So the square root and the power just doesn't do anything, so you just get rid of these two. So it's -4 with these two stuff. So these two make any negative number positive, so it's 4. And yeah guys, thanks for watching.